Welcome. In this tutorial, we will discuss the construction of an ellipse. This tutorial is dedicated to the deaf children at Transorania School for the Deaf, Pretoria, South Africa. Please take note that this tutorial focuses on the construction of an ellipse and not the isometric circle. Here you will see an example of the ellipse that we want to construct. This is the answer or memo. The little stars, as you see them plotted down on the drawing, is for the teacher to do the assessment on each of the constructions. We will start this drawing by plotting down the extents of the ellipse on the main and minor axis. The x-axis in this case will serve as the main axis and the y-axis as the minor axis. So we will look at the question and we will place points A and B from center O1 to the left and right on the main axis. And then we will use the distance given in the question and place the distances of C and D from O1 on the minor axis, as you can see here. We start our constructions by placing our ruler at point A and lining it up with point C, and draw a light construction line from point A to point C. For the next step, we will place our compass at the center point O1 and stretch it all the way to point A on the main axis. We will now draw a light construction arc all the way from A up to the minor axis and intersect that arc with the minor axis. Make sure that you now label the intersection of the construction arc with the minor axis. I am naming it point E. For the next step, we will place our compass at point C and stretch it to point E that we just created in the previous step, and draw a light construction arc from point E onto line AC as indicated here. And we will now label the intersection of the smaller arc point F. Now we will halve the section between point A and point F on line AC. Therefore, we will place our compass at point F, stretch it more or less 3/4 of the distance towards point A, and draw a half arc. Now we will repeat the same step from point A by placing our compass at point A, and we do not adjust the length of our compass. We keep it exactly the same distance and draw a light construction arc as shown here. We will now make use of our ruler, and at the two intersections of the two arcs we created in the first step, we are now going to take the ruler and line it with those two intersections and draw a light construction line through the intersections and extend it all the way to the bottom of the minor axis as indicated here. And then we will label the intersection of that construction line with the minor axis as point G. We will now take our compass and place it at center point O1 and stretch it to point G that we created, and draw a light construction line from the bottom of the minor axis all the way around to the top of the y-axis or minor axis, and then we will label the point at the top where the arc intersects with the minor axis as point H. I draw your attention now to the diagonal line that cut into the main axis, and we will now label that intersection of the diagonal line as point I on our main axis. Now we will draw a light construction line from point H through point I and extend that line for later use. We place our compass now at point O1 and stretch it to point I on the main axis and draw a light construction circle from point I all around to the other side of the main axis towards point B. And we will now label that intersection of the construction arc point J. Now we will use our ruler and draw a light construction line all the way from point H through point J to duplicate what we did in the previous step from H to I. And we now have an extended light construction line from point H through point J. We will now use our ruler again and draw a light construction line from point G through point J with an extended light construction line that duplicates what we did from H through I and J, and we will see that we have the same effect from point G through point J. In the next step, we need to be very careful where we place our compass. Make sure that you place your compass on the minor axis at point G at the bottom and stretch your compass all the way to point C on the minor axis. And then we will draw an arc that is going to connect the two diagonal lines flowing from point G to the left and right. And that will be a solid arc that meets with the two diagonal lines we created earlier. For this step, we will also make sure that we do place our compass at point H on the minor axis and stretch the compass all the way to point D on the minor axis, which then duplicates the distance of radius that we did with the previous large arc we drew. And this will be a solid arc, therefore it will go through point D and meet up with the two diagonal lines that flow from point H through I and J. In this step, we will also make sure that we carefully place our compass at point I and stretch it to point A. Now we will draw a solid arc that meets up with the previous two larger arcs, and that arc will go perfectly through point A. For the last step, we will now duplicate what we did from I to A on the main axis. We will now place our compass on point J and stretch it to point B on the right hand side of the main axis and draw a solid arc that meets up with the two larger arcs on the two diagonals going through point B. This will now conclude the construction of your ellipse. All the drawings of this tutorial was done with TurboCAD version 16, and I would like to thank the people at TurboCAD Africa for their support and the software. TurboCAD Africa is the main suppliers of TurboCAD, which is computer-aided design software for schools and for industry in South Africa. Well done, you have finished the tutorial. Please like my YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel by clicking the buttons below. Thank you for your support. Have a wonderful day.